Hi, everybody. Welcome to a Teikametrics Wednesday webinar. I am Liz Downing. I'm the Senior Manager of Partnerships and Events here at Teika, and I've got my good friend Colleen Guadalban with me. She's the Director of Marketing at Ecom Engine.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you today.
So I'm excited about today because this is like kind of getting the band back together. I worked with Colleen at Ecom Engine for 4 years, and we traveled all around the land talking about product reviews and how to be compliant when you ask for product reviews, because Ecom Engine has this wonderful product, Feedback 5, which is the legacy seller reputation software in the industry. So Colleen's going to drop some knowledge on what Feedback 5 users are caring about and doing. We've got some news from Amazon that we want to talk about. We've got a whole list of things. Colleen's much more organized than I am, so she actually has an outline, which is a novel thing for me. Since I've been at Teikametrics, I have worked pretty much without an outline, but a couple housekeeping items. This session is being recorded. So if you registered for this webinar, you will get a replay in your email. We're going to share any kind of links, resources. Ecom Engine creates wonderful content. So we've got some articles we want you to read, all that kind of stuff. We're also hoping that you'll ask questions. Everybody always has a lot of questions about product reviews. And I think that this is a great time for you to get your questions out there. We will share any questions you want us to with the team at Amazon. If you don't want us to, then we won't. But I think we can kick it off and get started. Again, don't raise your hand in GoToWebinar. I don't really know how to address that. Just pop your question into the questions field in GoToWebinar, and we'll just kind of like weave those in as we go along. Sound good?
Sounds good. Let's go.
All right, so why are product reviews on Amazon so darn important anyway?
Yeah, so that's a good just general question to start with while we're waiting for more attendees to come in. So reviews are important, obviously, because they really help your ranking and your positioning on Amazon to help you win the buy box more often. But really, they're just great social proof. I mean, everybody looks at reviews these days. A lot of the studies show that 80 to 90% of people are reading the reviews before making a purchase. So making sure that you have not just good quantity of reviews, but good quality reviews. And in addition to that, also very recent reviews, because if you don't have reviews that you're continuing to get regularly and your competitor or competing items have the most recent reviews, they will start to look like the more relevant product in the market. So that combination of quality plus quantity plus recent reviews leads to success. And all of those factors are taken into Amazon's algorithm. From the studies that we've done, it appears that all of those factors will definitely help your positioning and your ranking.
Absolutely. Impacts organic rank. Also, I read something somewhere that said that Amazon shoppers are willing to spend more money on a product that has more positive reviews. So I know that when I like to ask people that are outside the industry, about their Amazon shopping behavior, because I'm a big nerd and that's what I like to do when I'm at a party, is be like, tell me about your Amazon shopping behavior. How do you do your searches? And they're like, who invited her? But a lot of them say, okay, so I go and I sort by Prime, and then I look at reviews. I sort by positive reviews. So that's something that matters tremendously to shoppers, but it also matters a whole lot to Amazon. Amazon is an online marketplace, as we all know, and you can't pick it up and look at it and smell it and see how heavy it is and juggle it and all that kind of stuff. You have to rely on reviews to get an idea of what that product is really like. So they're very important. Amazon created reviews so that there could be social proof and there could be a source of truth for the quality of a product, right? But like anything else, people come in and they start breaking rules, they start trying to game the system, and all of a sudden we've got a review space that isn't as safe, it isn't as big of a source of truth. There's some lies in it, there's some bad acting going on. And so what prompted this webinar, Colleen and I were talking, and I said, did you see that press release that Amazon sent out about cracking down on, what was it, 10,000 Facebook groups that were, you send a free product, you get a guaranteed like positive review. That's totally against Amazon's rules. And Amazon said, hey, no more, we're not doing that anymore. Also, well, we'll talk about that in a minute, but that was July 19th, right, Colleen?
Yes, July 19th, the press release came out. And really over the last 2 years, Amazon's been cracking down, on these types of groups. But the press release really was just highlighting that they filed a lawsuit and started to take legal action against these groups. But a lot of them have been, notified by Amazon, have been asked to be taken down. But Amazon has taken a very close look at who was in those groups. So they've identified a lot of the members and who has been involved. And so they're starting to take action against sellers as well that were involved in those groups. So, hopefully nobody on this call was involved in any of this. but yeah, the legal action is what the press release was all about, is that they're now finally taking that legal action against those Facebook groups. But yeah, there's over 10,000 of them per the press release.
Well, and I don't know what you're supposed to do when you state your rules. And granted, Amazon makes it a little difficult. I think there are 3 different places in Seller Central where it has different things you have to know about asking for reviews. And it's wrapped up in buyer seller messaging. It's wrapped up in communication guidelines, all that kind of stuff. So you have to know the rules of product reviews, and you have to know the rules of asking for product reviews and the rules of community guidelines to make sure you're not breaking any of those too. It's kind of confusing. Amazon knows that. They're working on that, which is awesome. We know for sure that Amazon is trying to make the review space better, but think way back, Colleen, I had just been at Ecom Engine a little while, and what I like to call ReviewGate happened, which was October 2016. Amazon got rid of incentivized reviews, and incentivized reviews weren't necessarily sellers like outright paying cash money for a positive review, but free products in return for an honest review. But come on, let's face it, it was usually positive. And you'd look at an item on Amazon, and like most of the reviews would say, I received a free product to leave my honest opinion on this. And Amazon said, this is not the source of truth that we want it to be, but it shook up the industry like crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Amazon, I mean, they're very aware of that. And I know that they've hired several people that have been involved in the seller space with us. They've hired several people back to Amazon now. And so there's several people that have played an integral part in really speaking up for sellers, which is awesome. So Liz and I have been working directly with them and making sure that we're all communicating and sharing feedback so that hopefully things will improve. But Amazon has updated the terms and conditions or communication guidelines, several times over the years to try to make it more and more clear. But it's still, there's still some areas that are open for question or a little bit gray. But I think like the most black and white is that, never offer incentives, promotions, coupons, or ask for a positive review. Do everything that you can just to be as neutral as possible. And don't do anything that seems shady. If you're questioning whether or not you can do it, you probably can't. Don't ask a family member or a friend. Just don't do any manipulation of creating variation relationships with products with an intention to transfer or manipulate reviews. I mean, any of those kind of things, they have plenty of bots that will catch it, and it's just not worth it, So just making sure that you're just being very neutral is the most important thing, that you can do when requesting reviews.
We also have a question from Mark. How to report a competitor who sent an offer of an Amazon gift card for writing a review. It does not overtly state write a positive review, but 5 stars are listed in 3 different places on the offer. Amazon says if you see something, say something. So you can give that to Amazon and say, hey, this is a violation of, it's not terms of service anymore, it's rules and regulations or whatever. But yeah, I mean, you're encouraged to report bad actors. You're encouraged to do that.
Yeah, and we get questions a lot. Are product inserts even allowed? And can you ask for reviews and product inserts? And the answer is yes, you can. You just cannot ask for a positive review. So again, you still need to use neutral language. Don't offer coupons or incentives of any kind in your insert. You can get creative with your product inserts. And offer care instructions or unboxing tips or assembly instructions or some useful information, and then request a review on that message, but it cannot in any way ask for a positive review or divert them to say, if you're happy with this product, leave a review. If not, contact us. Because that looks like manipulation, that you're only having positive reviews being posted online on Amazon and all the negative are just coming to you. I know it sounds like you're doing the right thing by just offering good customer service and opening up that option for them to contact you if they have a bad experience. But if you're giving that kind of either or if then statement, Amazon typically sees that as manipulation.
Yes, and Mark, I will connect with you offline after the webinar to figure out where the best place to report that type of behavior is. I might have somebody in particular that would like to know about that, so I'll email you after that. Okay, cool. So it is still a huge challenge for you sellers, brand owners, to get reviews on your products. We have several questions now about how are we supposed to get reviews when we're not even allowed to ask for them. Actually, and I want to address, there's a question about Walmart Spark Review, which is a program that allows customers to submit reviews of items they have purchased and get free items in return. Walmart is still a new e-commerce marketplace. So whatever Walmart is doing, that's different than what Amazon's doing. They're two completely different platforms. They've got completely different rules, completely different platforms. I don't know if the Spark Review thing is going to hang around for a really long time, but that's neither here nor there in terms of Amazon reviews. Anyway, but Colleen, you guys have some data, don't you, about like challenges around reviews and what people say their biggest challenges are in terms of product reviews on Amazon?
Yeah, so we just did a survey just a couple months ago to ask sellers what their top challenges are. And number one was getting more reviews. But one of the other top ones was that 21% of sellers said that their top challenge when it comes to reviews is dealing with fake reviews. So, obviously, 1 out of every 5 sellers is struggling with the issue with fake reviews. And it's good to see that Amazon is taking legal action, drawing a line in the sand about what is and is not allowed. I think Amazon adding the request a review button in Seller Central a couple years ago was a big help as well, because that lets sellers know that there is an option or there is a way to request reviews without getting having any risk for suspension. But I know that the fake reviews, that's not about you requesting reviews. That's about fake reviews that are out there. So just make sure that, if you see something, say something, report any abuse, report any what appears to be fake. Report anything that appears to be feedback listed as review or review listed as feedback, because that can be struck out as well by Amazon. But and with a lot of the Amazon crackdowns recently, the survey that we did also showed that more and more sellers are using the request a review button instead of buyer seller messaging, so that there's no risk for suspension. And our tool specifically, Feedback 5, just recently we took a look at the data, because request a review came out about 2.5, 3 years ago. And when it first rolled out, we had about 40 to 50% of our sellers were on Feedback 5, gave it a shot, gave it a try. So it was about 50-50 were using it in 2020. Last year it shifted, and about 60% of Feedback 5 users were using the request a review button versus buyer seller messaging. And as of just a couple weeks ago, 77% of sellers who are using Feedback 5 are using the request a review button, automating that in Seller Central through Feedback 5 versus 23% using buyer seller messaging. So I think that just speaks to, sellers have enough to deal with. The last thing they need to worry about is whether or not, what they're saying in their message can cause risk for suspension or restriction. And so, anytime somebody signs up for our tool, we always say to give request a review a shot first. Try that. It's easy to automate, set it and forget it. You know that the message is being sent from Amazon directly, so it's more likely to be opened and received by the buyer. Many buyers don't even realize still today that they're buying from a third-party seller. They just still think that they're buying from Amazon when they purchase on Amazon. So seeing that Amazon name in their inbox tends to get more open rates. And Amazon has done a lot to test and optimize the message. both making it very mobile friendly, very easy with the image to quickly, click and leave the review, just kind of a one tap click. So, I think we just trust that Amazon has put a lot of, work into making sure that the message is effective. And it will also make sure that it's in the buyer's language of choice. So even if you're selling on the US marketplace, if somebody has their settings set that they want to, receive everything in Spanish, then the message will come in Spanish. It's automatically translated as well from Amazon. So there's just a lot of benefits to automating the request a review button versus buyer seller messaging.
Yeah, I agree with that. And whenever obviously I don't work in that area anymore. We do advertising at Teikametrics, but I do talk to a lot of our brand owners, and they ask about reviews, and I say, are you proactively asking for reviews? And they say, well, we used to, but all these opt out, that just really slowed it down for us. And I say, well, Amazon created a new program when opt out happened to kind of make up for it. And it's the request a review function. So try that. And the brands that I've talked to that have tried it have seen an uptick in reviews. Now, product has to be good. Listing has to match the product, all that kind of stuff, or they're going to get more reviews and they won't be so good. But back to fake reviews for a second. Charlie says that China's been gaming reviews for years, and even a security researcher found that 200,000 plus users, it was a 200,000 plus data of users that China was using for fake reviews. So some of those Facebook groups were the same bad actors. Charlie also says that he's talked to someone high up at Amazon that says that Amazon turns a blind eye to that. If they did, not anymore. Amazon is really looking to crack down on all fake review sources, all ill-gotten review sources, to try to make that review section on each item a source of truth for shoppers, because Amazon is a customer-first organization. So it ain't there yet, but they're working on it. They really, really are. We have some really cool questions in here, so let's tackle a couple of those. So we did the, if you can't ask, well, you can via the request a review functionality that is showing a little more oomph than buyer seller messaging. This one asks, when it comes to converting review requests to ratings or reviews, is there a healthy threshold percentage for conversion? And also, at what point could be too high of a percentage of converting review requests to reviews cause red flags to Amazon for review manipulation? So Colleen can answer this better than I can, but at a high level, I'm going to say if you ask for a review on each order, but only ask once, that's not too many times to ask, right?
Right. Yeah, I would just say definitely ask on every order, exclude refunded orders, of course, but ask on every order, take a look at the timing of your order based on your product and what you're selling. So if you're selling vitamins, having those review requests go maybe 25 days after delivery. So they've at least had a couple weeks to try the vitamins versus if it's an article of clothing, send it just 2 or 3 days, 5 days, whatever, after delivery, because they'll have a chance to touch it, feel it, wear it, love it. They know right away. So think about the product that you're selling, and you can set up your timing based on, each ASIN or each category. So that's one thing to think about. But I would say that, doing that kind of a test of the timing, as well as testing your subject lines, those are some ways, if you're using buyer seller messaging, that you can test what's working and what's not to try to improve conversions. You can also try using the request a review button and then testing that against buyer seller messaging, especially if you do have a very well-known brand and an awesome product. Buyer seller messaging might work better. And a tool like Feedback 5 can help you to A/B test that so that you can try to improve conversions and see what works best. So what we usually recommend is all of your even orders, so all of your orders ending in an even number, send one message, and then all of your orders in an odd number that end in an odd number, send a different message. And that way it's just a very I guess quick test way to see what works, what doesn't. But as far as like number wise, what percentage that we see is successful versus not successful, I mean, if you're getting 5%, 5 to 7% conversion rate from your review requests to reviews, that's pretty decent, and that's average. We do have some that are getting 10%, and that's pretty high. Many only get 1 or 2% of a response.
Well,
So a
Amazon
lot
has
of it depends on your product, the timing, your message. So it's hard for me to say like one number because there's so many factors that can go into it.
totally. Well, and Amazon has always said if you get 1 review per every 100 orders, that's good. So obviously the more orders you get, the more reviews you're going to get, but people are seeing an uptick by proactively asking and being smart about how they ask. We had Leanne ask aside from automating review requests and Amazon Vine, what else can sellers do to be able to kickstart the review velocity, especially on a new product? If you're brand registered, there are lots of things you can do to get your brand out and your product out in front of the marketplace. And you can do that with a smart advertising strategy that's a full funnel advertising strategy on a new product, focused specifically on launch. And we can help you with that at Teikametrics. But really the trick is you've got to get those organic sales as well. And you've got to try to get your velocity like kick-started right at the get-go if you can, and that's going to naturally result in more reviews. I do want to talk about the Vine program real quick because I was talking to somebody the other day and they said, I did the Vine program and it didn't work. And I said, well, I see that you have Vine reviews. Yeah, but they're not positive. So a word about Vine, you're not guaranteed positive reviews from Amazon Vine. Amazon Vine is populated by Vine voices. There are people trusted by Amazon to leave honest reviews. So Colleen's got some tips for you on how to make Vine work for you. But I will say, do not rely on Vine for positive reviews. There are things you need to do to your product and your listing to ensure that the Vine program is successful for you. So let's take a second to talk about that. Okay, Colleen?
Sure. Yeah, and a recent change to the Vine program is now that they do charge for enrollment, whereas it used to be free. It's now $200 per parent ASIN. So there is a cost involved as well as giving away the free product to the Vine voices. So you need to kind of evaluate that. And I think it's if you have less than 30 reviews, you can be entered into the program. But it's a good idea to at least have a few reviews first, if you can, before you enter the program, especially if you can have a few positive reviews before you enter the program. But I would highly recommend that your product is tested thoroughly. The quality assurance is there. You have very consistent batches of your inventory and your product. Making sure that your listing is very, detailed and complete. And that's where you can learn from those first few product reviews before you send it off to Vine, to the Vine program. So if you, if you get a few negative or neutral or even positive reviews, but they kind of have some question to them, that might give you an idea of how you can improve your product or improve your listing before you send it off to the Vine program. So, so I would just make sure that you've, thoroughly analyzed your product and the satisfaction rate of your customers before you send it to them, because like Liz said, you're not guaranteed positive reviews.
Yes, exactly. And I know that Colleen hates this, that I jump around like this, but I totally do this. She's used to it. She's known me forever. But I want to address, there's another fake review question, and it's how can you tell if a review is fake? And that is a really tricky, very, very good question. And you don't know for sure, but there are a couple tells, right? There are a couple of hints, especially if you get a lot of reviews at one time. If they're worded similarly, if they came in at a weird time and it was a batch of them, so like within a minute of each other, within 5 minutes of each other, you can usually kind of bet that that's a competitor sabotage kind of situation, and you need to open a case on that. If your review is about something completely other than your product, odds are Amazon didn't put it in the wrong place. That person put it there. And they could have either done it because they just don't know how it works, but that's unlikely. So that could potentially be a competitor issue too. Other competitor dirty tricks, upvoting negative reviews from like a long time ago. I've seen that happen to a couple brands that I work with where they just get all these upvotes, and Amazon at one point said, we don't know about upvotes, we don't track that, but now people are actually submitting claims and working with Amazon to say, like, this is totally not on the up and up. We gotta work something out. So the line of communication has gotten better. It's going to get even better. That's one of our predictions for the future, because we know that for a fact. But for now, it's still difficult. It's difficult to get reviews on new products. It's difficult to keep the review velocity going on existing products. Colleen sees all kinds of data about the weight of new reviews versus real old reviews, right? And we see that too, because the Amazon algorithm favors the newer reviews. You've got to keep positive reviews coming in if you want to keep the benefits that come from having positive reviews.
Yeah, and I
It's a
would just
lot.
say, make sure that you're monitoring your own reviews as well as your competitors. Monitoring competitor ASINs is really a smart and often underutilized strategy. But it's important to keep track of what buyers are saying about your products, but also about your competitive ASINs, because you can often identify feature gaps or get a better understanding of what shoppers are searching for. Paying attention to your own reviews and your competition can help with, inventory forecasting, et cetera. But also, if you're just monitoring your own reviews and your competitors, then I think you would probably start to see if you notice a trend or a big spike or some similar language constantly being said on the same product over and over again, that might appear fake. And then potentially you could get it removed if Amazon's willing to agree that it's fake.
Another question, totally not related. I want to go back to negative reviews. I want to talk a little bit about negative reviews in a second, but Charlie said that they're requesting video reviews from clients as it shows the product and the person reviewing it. What are my thoughts on video reviews? And I'll tell you that I have such good thoughts about video reviews. And I've been so tempted to do video reviews for every product that I review, because I finally feel like I'm an actual avid Amazon shopper. My neighbors make fun of me for the amount of Amazon packages that are on my porch on any given day. But video reviews also, like if you look at a listing, right? You've got listing information, you've got all the content on the PDP. When you get to the review section, if there are video reviews, they're first. Amazon will show reviews with video, reviews with images, and then all the other reviews. So I don't know how Amazon's weighing video reviews versus just a star rating. It might be all the same. I don't know. But I know that as a shopper, I watch every single one of those video reviews. Like, I can't help it. I have to. So Charlie, I think it's an awesome idea, as long as you're asking in a compliant way. Hey, would you leave a video review? And know that if someone actually despises your product, they're gonna make a video about it. I'm sure all your products are wonderful and nobody's gonna do that. But I think video reviews are the wave of the future, and user generated content is gold for a brand or a seller. That's what I think. Colleen, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the more that you can get videos and images in your reviews, I mean, since that is something new that Amazon, has started to offer with the videos and reviews, I think that they're going to prioritize that. Like Liz said, those show up first. They probably are carrying more weight to that, but especially if your competitors aren't getting any video reviews and you are, that obviously gives you a leg up. In time, there's going to be a lot of video reviews probably on a lot of products, but right now, there's very few video reviews out there. So that's something that definitely sets you apart. And especially if you have a product that may be a little bit complicated to open, or people actually need to see how it works, or you want to see kind of the size of it as somebody's like, holding it. A picture speaks 1,000 words, but a video speaks a million.
Exactly. I want to roll through a couple more questions, because that's really what we're here for, and we'll slip in all the other stuff we wanted to tell you. But Haley asks, do you find it more impactful to use the Amazon language on automated emails to request reviews, or custom language? And what Colleen was saying before is that that request a review email that Amazon sends, that's triggered by the request a review button in your order details. It's a different section than buyer seller messaging. Does it go over buyer seller messaging? I don't remember.
No.
Yeah, right. So it's just got Amazon's language because Amazon wrote the email. So that's actually, I think, working better for a lot of people, just because it's not, it doesn't have the restrictions that buyer seller messaging does with people opted out of communications from, buyer seller messaging, which is how the old requests went out. I'd say the old one, but people still do it. So how the other requests go. But Amazon wrote and tested that email. So it's got a picture of the item. It's got a place where you can leave a star rating for seller feedback, which is something we're going to also talk about. And then a place where you can leave a star rating for a review, and it clicks you through if you want to write a review, but doesn't make you do it. So Lynn asks, how do you request a review? You can do it manually in the order details page. Then you click on the order. If the order is eligible and ready for the request a review button, it's a green button. Is it still green? It's a green button.
The button is gray. Sorry, the request a review button is gray. Yep.
Great button. Or you can use Feedback 5 and they automate it for you. And that's what I suggest. Otherwise, you're going to spend all day clicking into your orders and clicking the little gray button. So there will be information at the end of this webinar and in the replay on how you can try out Feedback 5 and see if that works for you. We have lots and lots of questions. We have some other.
I can't access the questions, so feel free just to shout them out. I know you said that there was one about negative reviews, or a couple.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about negative reviews, because the biggest question I'm getting lately is when am I going to be able to go back into my review section and comment in line on the reviews? That's something you used to be able to do, and I used to tell everybody how great it was, even though it really wasn't all that great, because the person who left the review didn't get a notification that you'd commented on their review, and buyers had to scroll all the way through and see that you had commented on that review. So it wasn't perfect, but it was a nice little bit of brand defense, in that you could at least stick up for yourself and tell that you'd fix the problem or clarify an issue. I don't think they're gonna bring that back. Do you?
I don't think so either, especially now that just all of Amazon's programs, it seems to be that you need to be brand registered to be a part of the program. And now, in order to respond to negative reviews, you must be brand registered as well. So brand registered sellers can respond using Amazon's templates in Seller Central. So if you go to the customer reviews page and brand registry, then you can send a message that allows you to either ask for, offer a refund or a replacement, or you can ask about what went wrong. So you have those two options. And those are the only two templates. You can't edit them, you can't change them. It's a very controlled message. But as the seller, you have two choices. You can ask, what went wrong, which is, trying to find out why they left you a 1 or 2 star review, so that maybe you can make it right. Or we'll offer a refund or a replacement. And hopefully, if they accept that and you make it right, then maybe they're willing to change that and change their review from a 1 or 2 star review up to a 4 star review, for instance. But that's just, you kind of just have to keep your fingers crossed and hope that, that they'll update the negative review. But I don't see them bringing back the commenting in line on reviews, because it's really just so customer focused that I think they want the customer or the buyer's messages there, right there on Amazon, and want all the seller communication to be happening privately.
That's a good tip.
But one other thing with negative reviews, something that's new, I was going to say, so my buddy Isaac, he owns a company called On-Site Support, which is a brand new company. And so I highly recommend that you check it out, because he's been working closely with Amazon and their product lifecycle support team, I believe it's called. But basically, he's created a custom-built support hub for brands where you can actually live chat, email, have social media integration, and a ticketing system, a help desk software. All of this is built out so that you can communicate with your buyers on Amazon. So the goal is to reduce that negative customer experience, offer good customer service, avoid costly returns, and just build your brand loyalty. So on-site support, again, I believe it's in beta. He might be still accepting, some new brands now, but definitely reach out to him, take a look at his website, because he is working closely with Amazon and something new, unique, different that we had never had. available, where the seller can actually communicate right there with your buyers through the live chat and the ticketing system that he's offering that integrates with Amazon.
It's pretty cool. There are about 70 brands using it right now, but there are a couple of use cases, like case studies that they have already about like a product that 500 units were sent in and there was something wrong with the knob. And they set this up and people were saying, hey, before I do all the official stuff, including leaving a good review, I'm assuming, like, can you send me a new one of these that has a knob that works? And they're like, sure. And it really helped the situation, because that's a disaster kind of situation when you send in a batch of stuff to FBA and there's something wrong. It's hard to stop the wheels in that. Removal orders are expensive. You don't want to just sell a bum product, but if you've got a situation where you're going to need enhanced customer support, this is a really great option, and it's compliant with Amazon, because Amazon's like, yay, that's a good idea. Also, so there's a question real quick. Colleen, request to review functionality. I know that Feedback 5 has a presence on almost every international Amazon marketplace. What options are available for Amazon Europe, different Amazon Europe marketplaces and other international marketplaces in terms of them requesting review? Is request to review functionality available there?
Yes, it's available in all marketplaces. Feedback 5 supports 17 marketplaces, and request a review is available in all of them. So all of the language translation is automatically done. And then I know Amazon Belgium is coming out soon, that new marketplace. So that was just announced about a month ago. So that's another new marketplace, but request a review will be available there as well. So we've been working with Amazon to make sure that we have that available for our users as well.
And I always give a plug to Yana and YLT Translations because I always find out about a new marketplace from her before I hear it from anybody else. And obviously, if you're going to have listings translated, do not use Google Translate. That's a disaster. But Albert, I don't know what kind of problems you've had with pressing the request review button, but if you use Feedback 5 for it, it seems to be fine. So if you want, I can connect you with Colleen, but you'll have a link also where you can go check out Feedback 5. Excuse me. Let's see. Okay, we've got 23 minutes. We've got a ton of questions. We had a couple more things that we wanted to cover. Colleen, you touched on monitoring reviews, but let's talk a little bit about, like, from a brand perspective. You've got several brands that don't even request reviews. They're just using Feedback 5 to monitor the reviews that come in. Tell me about what they're telling you and why that's such a useful functionality.
Yeah, so there's a lot of brand owners that only monitor reviews. They're not requesting reviews, maybe because they're, they might have multiple companies out there or multiple sellers that are selling their product. So they can keep an eye on all of their reviews. Yeah, I mean, it's just a preference, obviously everybody wants to request reviews. If it's your own brand, you want to request feedback if you're a seller. But there's a lot of vendors that are kind of doing that hybrid strategy where they're a vendor and a seller. So in some cases, they're only monitoring reviews and not requesting.
Herbert asked one of my favorite questions ever, which is, and it's not a word problem question. I love the word problem questions where it's always like if there's a bus traveling, but it's not like that. This is a good question. I've seen many products introduced into my product category that get the best positioning, even though there are numerous other identical products in the category. My product has 698 reviews with a 4.8 average and gets pushed down from these new listings. What can I do to combat these new listings? And I will say one word to you, and that is advertising. So you might be advertising already, but there are ways to advert, like, even if you're not a brand, there are tricks with sponsored products that you can do. They're not tricks, but they're tactics with sponsored products that you can use. So Herbert, please do contact me offline and let's talk through, because that's just not fair. You've been around longer, but also proactively request reviews, because those newer reviews are going to bump you higher in the algorithm. So you might have 698. How many are from last week? You know, so get some new ones. But let's talk about your advertising strategy.
One thing I was going to add is that I can't remember who it was that asked the question about how to get more reviews. We talked about Vine a little bit, but another thing is to think about with the holidays coming up. If you have not enabled the Amazon gift option, consider gift wrap and gift messaging. I know that that'll probably help you more from a feedback perspective, but it could also help with product reviews. By default, gift options are not automatically enabled for your account, but it is free for FBA sellers. So a lot of sellers don't realize this, but it's something that you can have enabled all of the time. There's certain categories or products that are not eligible, but as long as your product is eligible, it's free, and it can help increase your sales conversion rates, offer an enhanced buying experience, especially during the holiday season. And, again, no extra cost, but there's an option for gift wrapping and gift messaging. But if somebody's looking at your product and a competitor and you offer the gift options and the other one doesn't, and they're sending something to somebody, then they might be more likely to choose your product and then end up, leaving you a good review or good feedback or both, since it was just an overall good experience.
Ooh, let's talk about feedback real quick, and then we've got a very, very good question that I definitely want to address. But so I saw this article. Amazon is also cracking down on fake seller feedback or seller reviews. So feedback 5, not to tell your own story for you, but feedback 5 has been around since like 2004. And that was before there were product reviews, I think, or definitely before they were such a big deal. But seller feedback has always been a big deal. It's part of your ODR, your order defect rate. If you've got bad seller feedback, it's bad news for your seller account. So Amazon is filing a lawsuit against this company that was basically selling seller feedback, like positive seller feedback. So it's not just, they're looking at everybody who's doing bad stuff. So I know that you're saying they're casting a wide net. Some people are getting falsely accused. So the person who asked that about what happens if you're getting falsely accused, contact me after this webinar and I'll put you in touch with somebody that can help you with that. But you can't game the system on your seller feedback. That's just wrong. But your seller feedback is important, and feedback 5 can help with that too. Bing. See, I'm still doing a good job, even though I work over here now.
Thanks, Liz.
So Anthony asked, can we reach out to customers who have purchased from our website to leave an honest product review of our product on Amazon?
Yeah, so that is a strategy a lot of people are starting to consider using, doing, off Amazon advertising to try to drive more traffic to Amazon. But as of right now, if they're not buying directly through Amazon, you still cannot request a review unless they've bought directly through Amazon.
Now you used to could, but it wasn't a verified purchase review. So if the purchase didn't occur on Amazon and the person didn't, through that same chain of like my own Amazon account, end up leaving a review, then it wasn't a verified purchase review and it wasn't worth as much. Now, I do think, Anthony, that it is crucial for you to drive traffic to your Amazon listings from other sources. Amazon loves when you do that. That's why there's the Amazon Attribution program. I've got information I can send you about that. Absolutely use Amazon Attribution if you're brand registered, because you get paid, or you get comp, you get bonus, you get kudos for the traffic you send to Amazon. People are doing amazing things with TikTok, with Instagram, with their own website. But TikTok, we're going to do some content about TikTok, y'all, because TikTok is, and actually I was talking to a company the other day that it uses AI to watch user-generated content that talks about your brand. So the AI, like machines, watch all the videos so that you can get a dashboard with all the videos that mention your brand in one place. And these are the ones with a positive sentiment, and these are the ones with a negative sentiment. And like, this is the demographic, and you can sort it by, I only want to see videos by men that are 20 to 30 or women that are, I mean, it's just really, really cool. It's not working for Amazon videos yet, but if you've got a brand and there are people on different social platforms that are talking about your brand, and you don't have a full-time person or team of people to sit around and watch all those videos, this is a really great solution. And I will make sure you have a link to that, but it's VYRILL.com. That is a great way to, especially if you're like, I'm going to find micro influencers, right? Okay, this is a strategy for my brand. I'm going to go out, I'm going to find some micro influencers, and I'm going to send them product, because I can do that with people on TikTok because it's not Amazon. And I'm going to send them product, and I'm going to have them create content for their audience about my product. And if you do that a whole lot, and you've got lots and lots of people that are out there on TikTok talking about your product, then how do you find all of them? How do you know what they're saying? All that kind of stuff. This is a solution for that. And in today's world, it's 2022. I'm Gen X. This all blows my mind, but this is a way to know what people are saying about your brand. So I'm super excited about that, and we'll share that with you in the show notes. I got off topic again, Colleen. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I guess with Q4 around the corner, something else I can add as far as a tip for getting more reviews is, I know we talked about the timing earlier and the timing of when you request reviews, really think about your product. But as you approach December 25th, you only have 30 days to request reviews. So if somebody's making a purchase on November 20th, and you maybe as a standard, you usually send that review request 5 days after delivery. Well, it's only going to be Thanksgiving at that point. They haven't given the gift yet. So when it gets close to mid-November, you might want to just update your review request so that they're always 30 days out for everything, especially if you have gift giving type of items, so that hopefully by the time you request that review, it's much closer to when the gift is being received. Because if somebody's giving a gift, they might not know yet if they want to leave you a positive or a negative review yet, because they haven't used the toy or the product yet. But then obviously once it gets closer to Christmas, you might want to readjust your timing back to 7 or 10 or whatever amount of days, so that you're requesting like that week right after Christmas, because we do see a big spike in reviews that week after Christmas. And it's not necessarily due to a spike in requesting reviews. People naturally, are just receiving more items and willing to leave a review. So the more you can entice them to give you a review once that gift has been given or received, it's definitely good to think about that timing. And that's a lot to do during Q4, I know. So obviously a tool like Feedback 5 can just automate that, make it super easy. Just log in, change the timing, and log out, and you're done. So we just want to make it as easy as possible. Anything we can do to help.
And
yeah,
you
it's
have
hard to believe it's almost Q4 is already almost here. I know everybody's already planning for that.
I know. We're gonna do a Q4 thing, and like I haven't told you this, Colleen, but we're gonna invite you guys to talk more about a Q4 strategy in terms of your seller reputation. And we're gonna get Isaac on here too, because I think that's something people need to implement before Q4. But yeah, it's right around the corner. And Amazon's gonna do another Prime Day thing. So you got that to think about. So that's an inventory nightmare that I'm sure, Colleen, you're going to be doing some content about, since you guys have Restock Pro, and that's an inventory management tool. But that's for a different webinar. We do have, this is and so all the questions that are about how do you use request a review, how does Feedback 5 help, how does it work, where do you see conversion rates, all that kind of stuff, I'll just send all that to Colleen, and they can get back to you. I think you still have a very generous free trial. So that comes with a demo. It comes with one of the absolute most amazing customer success teams that I have ever met in any industry at all. So y'all go on over there, because it's great. The water's fine. But this is a great question. How do you address reviews that have nothing to do with the product, but just complain about the product being damaged on arrival? We have no control over FBA delivery experience in transit. Can that be removed? Yes, because that is not a product review. Colleen, elaborate.
Yeah. So as long as the comments are 100% about related to seller feedback, then yes, it can be removed. If the slightest thing in there says anything about the actual product itself, then Amazon will deny the request to remove it. So same with vice versa. If you receive seller feedback and 100% of it is about how the product was terrible, nothing about customer service or shipping delays or anything like that, then it can be removed and it should be removed. But if there's, if it talks about seller feedback and the product, like the box was damaged and the product doesn't work, then they're not going to remove it. So it's definitely worth a shot. It sounds like, yeah, what you mentioned should be removed, or at least they would strike it through. So I would say definitely go ahead and submit that.
And there's a little drop down next to it where you can just do that, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. Gretchen asks, any advice on how to deal with unverified reviews? We've had a few of these and they're usually negative. Do you have advice on opening a case for these? Seems odd that Seller Central would say not a verified review, but then support can't remove it. So it drives down your overall rating, and I get why that is awful. A shopper is going to say not a verified review, and they're going to ignore that review altogether. So in terms of sentiment, but it is still a problem. If a review does not violate Amazon's review guidelines, i.e. it's only about seller feedback stuff, it's got profanity in it, it's not about the product at all, likely Amazon's not going to remove it unless there's something I don't know about unverified reviews, Colleen.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. There's a new company called Celatech. Shane Barker owns that company. Just met him recently, but Celatech is spelled SELLETEK.com. And they do FBA refunds, but also now negative review removal as long as it's within Amazon's guidelines. So they will help scan all of your reviews for you. And if there's profanity or anything in there that Amazon did not catch that they should have caught to remove a negative review, their system or their software will automatically look for that for you. And from what I understand, you only pay if they find something that can be removed for you. But they do operate all within Amazon's, guidelines. They submit it for you. So if you have some in question, or if you just want to talk to them and have them kind of scan all of your reviews, from what I understand, you only pay if they find any that are able to get removed. So so they can help be a judge of that too.
That's super handy. Peter asked, but does Amazon not penalize sellers that contact buyers to request reviews?
No, it's completely allowed. Amazon doesn't penalize buyers or sellers at all too. Sorry, say that again. Did I misunderstand it?
Well, so no, basically, doesn't Amazon penalize you when you ask for reviews? I mean, not if you ask for them the right way.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, I was making sure I understood that. Yeah, and I know that there seems to be a rumor kind of every so often, because every conference or event that I go to, people say, are we still allowed to ask for reviews? Or some people say they're not asking because they didn't think they were allowed to. Yes, you're absolutely allowed. If you go to the Amazon App Store and you look, there's a whole category for feedback and review software. There's over 150 different Amazon feedback software options in the Amazon App Store. And we all had to go through a process of applying and making sure that, that Amazon approves us to be in there. So we're all compliant, and they have kicked a couple out that have not been compliant. So Amazon absolutely encourages us to help sellers request feedback and reviews. And when you go in there, you'll notice feedback 5 is number 1. So, but seriously, it's Amazon completely supports it. Our team works with them regularly. Anytime they have updates, like when the request a review button came out, things like that, when they have changes, they do work with us closely. When Amazon Belgium, the new marketplace is coming, they contacted us to let us know the request a review button is going to be ready. We have access to the API so that we can, get Belgium ready in feedback 5 for people to request reviews. So it's absolutely allowed, but you just have to make sure you're operating within their guidelines.
All right, if it's okay with you, we've got 5.5 minutes left, and I'm going to roll through questions, and all these wonderful notes that you have, we're going to put in the recap and replay so that they actually can read tips for Q4, what you can and cannot do when requesting product reviews. But we've got so many questions. Let's roll through a couple of those. So if you have questions, now is your chance, because we're going to be spending the rest of this time on it. It feels like we probably could have done 2 hours on this, but Colleen is a fantastic resource. Feedback 5 is a great tool. So if you are having a big pain point with your review situation or your seller feedback situation, they're the right people to talk to, and they've got software that can help you. If you are having trouble getting your product launched successfully, if you're having trouble beating your competition, if you are feeling like your advertising is not optimized in a way to lead you to success, then talk to me, because I work for Teikametrics and we've got the best data and the best tool. Yay. So I've done that. I never do that during webinars, but I did it this time. Peter asked, what happens when you're an arbitrage seller? Can you receive a review as a seller? I mean, so you can get seller feedback on your seller performance. The product you sell can get a review, and in the long run that helps you because that product sells more than other products do, so it wins the buy box more often. And then you as a seller of it can win the buy box sometimes if you play your cards right. It's not as powerful as if you like own the brand and you're the only seller of the product, but it's still there are plenty of arbitrage sellers that still request reviews. Am I right about that?
Yes. Yeah, and I think it's helpful as a seller to know, what products are you're seeing a trend and are getting a lot of reviews, or which ones you're starting to see a trend, they're starting to get a lot of negative reviews. Maybe you want to pull them from the shelf and you don't want to sell those anymore. You don't want to be attached to that because you could risk your feedback if somebody, leaves a negative review for feedback. So I would say yes, even if you're arbitrage, pay close attention to the ASINs that you're selling. If you have some that you sell consistently, it'll help you with your inventory decisions and such. But yeah, the Amazon request a review button does favor requesting reviews first and then feedback. So in the message, it asks for a review first and then it asks for feedback. So it does ask for both, but the review first. So if you are an arbitrage seller and you're more concerned about feedback, that is a case where maybe buyer seller messaging is the better option for you because you really care more about feedback and you just want to send a feedback request and have that be the first, the first link in your email versus, sending them to a review, because a lot of buyers don't realize the difference. There's still sellers that don't completely understand the difference between feedback and reviews. So when a buyer receives an email and it says, hey, click here to leave a review and click here to leave feedback, they might only do one and not realize, that they're different.
Right. Well, and feedback 5, if I'm not mistaken, you can track reviews on any ASIN. So I think there's a use case for tracking reviews on a product before you decide to sell it too.
That is true. That is true.
Rebecca asks, is the request a review option available for Vendor Central as well as Seller Central?
No, and we get that question a lot. So vendors still cannot request reviews. Vendors can monitor reviews, but you cannot request them. So not at this time.
That's a bummer. Okay, so Haley, you just answered Haley's question. Is it doesn't ask for feedback first and then product review? Used to, doesn't anymore. Right?
Right, reviews first and then feedback.
Joseph asks, are there any proactive ways to stop reviews if you don't want reviews? I guess if you don't want negative reviews, which we talked about this new
to prevent negative reviews, you can't really prevent them, but you can exclude certain orders, like orders that ship late, orders that ship out of the country, refunded orders. You can certainly exclude those from your review requests, but it's best practice not just to cherry pick and request reviews for the ones that you want to ask for reviews, because that could kind of get you in trouble. But by just excluding those problematic ones, that's fine.
Well, and in general, make sure your product listing matches your actual products and offer fantastic customer service. We talked about on-site support earlier in the webinar, and that's a great new product, new company that actually allows you to engage with your shoppers, lets them ask you questions, and sometimes can circumvent the negative review process or the negative review results. So we'll be sharing information about that in the replay as well. We only have 1 minute left and we have so many more good
But I
question.
think to that point, like on-site support, the templates that Amazon has offered now, when there is a negative review, that brand registered sellers can respond using that template. The request a review button, the press release that just came out about, the legal action they're taking against those 10,000 Facebook groups. I think it just really proves that Amazon is providing brands the option to engage with Amazon consumers in that post-purchase journey, and they're doing everything they can to help crack down on the fake reviews. So, I feel comfortable and confident that Amazon, is really looking out for sellers in this case, especially with a couple of the new hires that Amazon has made from our side of the industry that are over there. Now on the inside, they've been in our shoes before, either as sellers or software providers, and, can help scream from the rooftops how frustrating it is when, the terms and conditions or the guidelines aren't as clear, or there's fake reviews happening, a lot of bad actors happening. So I think the inside folks at Amazon now are very aware of this, and they're doing what they can to change it.
Well, and I had a conversation with somebody from Amazon last night who is really digging into the review situation, not only from the shopper side of things, but from the seller side. So I feel confident in telling you that it's going to get better. It may take some time, but at least there are eyes at Amazon on this, on your experience, on your pain points. And that's why we had this webinar, is because I'm so jazzed about that, because my heart's been bleeding all these years because this has been so hard. So fingers crossed that it gets easier. In the meantime, there are plenty of tactics that we shared and we're going to share in the replay. A bunch of you asked for our on-site supports email. It's going to be in the replay. Don't worry. You're also going to have a link to Feedback 5. You're going to have a link to Teikametrics so you can learn more about all of us. Colleen, thank you so much. It's always so lovely to work with you.
I know. It's good to see you today. Thanks everybody for joining.
Yeah, absolutely. So keep your eyes peeled for more content from Ecom Engine, more webinars that we all do. We've got Q4 info coming up. We've also got World of Walmart coming up here at Teikametrics. Cameron Yoder is going to be doing that. So if you've got questions, burning questions about Walmart, make sure you tune into that. We'll put a link of that in the show notes too. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us today, and thanks for your wonderful questions, and we'll see you next time.